how to beat Israel Adesanya. Now, this is something that Nassourdine Imavov is going to be looking to do in just over a week's time at the massive fight night in Saudi Arabia. This is going to be a great card with this great headliner, something that would usually be headlining a pay-per-view if Adesanya was still champion. So, let's talk about it. How do we beat this guy? Now, unlike some of the guys I've done in the past, like Islam Marab, this is a guy that is 1-3 in his last 4 fights. Those 3 losses coming to Dricus du Plessis, the current middleweight champion, Sean Strickland, former middleweight champion, Alex Pereira, another former middleweight champion and light heavyweight champion, and that one win among those 3 losses, arguably the best win of his career, flatlining Alex Pereira. So, although he is 1-3 in his last 4, this is not a guy that's washed. This is not a guy that's easy to beat, especially for a guy like Nassourdine Imavov, who hasn't fought anybody of Israel Adesanya's caliber yet. So, let's get right into it. What exactly does Israel Adesanya have that makes him so good? And also about that Dricus du Plessis fight, he looked good in that fight. So we're not necessarily dealing with an over-the-hill washed Adesanya. So I believe he still has all of these attributes and skills to a good extent. I don't believe that age has started to show as much as it has for other fighters around his age. Hopefully we'll get a prime Adesanya again in this fight. But let's get right into it. I think his foremost attribute is his elite range, and obviously that comes from his frame. Kind of a lanky but still muscular build, perfect for fighting, perfect for kickboxing. So that range is elite, and he uses it well, but we'll get into that later. He has elite speed, especially in his kicks. He's able to whip up head kicks, body kicks, leg kicks, super quick. He's able to get in and out, and that speed is in his footwork and in his hands. He's very quick for middleweight. He's very quick for his height. And in a division where a lot of guys are kind of lumbering, kind of unathletic, even though a lot of them are strong, a lot of them are powerful, they're not the most coordinated, typically, I would say. And that's partially due to just middleweight being a bit of a weird division and partially due to the size that kind of holds them back from that elite level of speed. But Adesanya has it. Good strength. It's not easy to take this guy down, which we will be talking about later, with potential fights against both Nassourdine Imavov and potentially Khamzat Chimaev in the future. So his strength is really good, especially for a guy with his frame. He's more of a tall, I don't want to say lanky because he's very muscular, very wiry, but he's stronger than he looks, and he does have a lot of muscle on him at the same time. Good balance, again, feeds into his takedown defense. Good power. I don't want to say great power because it seems in some fights he's not able to hurt people, but we have also seen him put guys out. He put out Robert Whittaker, who doesn't have the best chin. He put out Alex Pereira, who doesn't have the best chin at middleweight, but he's still able to hurt these guys bad, which not everybody's able to do. So he does have that power when he needs it. Skills, he has elite kicks. I think that is his foremost skill, in my opinion. He's really good at using those kicks to keep range. He's good at using those kicks to hurt you when you can't hurt him. People talk about how he stays outside and taps leg kicks, and sometimes it is frustrating, but he was able to use that to win rounds and eventually win fights for a good point in his career, his whole dominant middleweight title run. And elite distance management, that goes along with those kicks. Not only that, he has good jabs, a good long straight right, not necessarily looking to put you out, but keep you at the range where he can hurt you and you can't hurt him. Guys that have struggled against him haven't been able to cross that range effectively, and guys that have done well against him have. That's honestly one of the big things that makes Adesanya beatable and one of the things that makes him really good. His striking overall is really good. It's dynamic. He can hit you with anything, knees, elbows, punches, kicks, and those can come from any angles, especially because he is so good at whipping up those head kicks. You don't know which part of his body he's going to attack to which part of your body. And good takedown defense. Now, at middleweight, he hasn't fought the best grapplers. Guys like Marvin Vettori were supposed to be the big grappling tests for Adesanya, and he passed those, right? Although Marvin Vettori did take him down and did have his back. So I can't say he has great takedown defense because he has also been taken down by Pereira. Now, a lot of that's just surprise. But against du Plessis, the one guy he's fought who does have near elite level wrestling and grappling, at least elite level strength in the case of du Plessis, he was taken down, although he did put up a good fight against it. So These are the attributes and skills that make Israel Adesanya one of the best middleweights of all time and still a great fighter, still at that championship level. Now, let's talk about the physical attributes that I believe you need to beat Adesanya. First, you need that chin and toughness. Like I said, you need to be able to cross into his territory where you can hurt him. You need to get past his range. And to do that, you are going to get hit. Like I said, Adesanya doesn't have the best power, but he does have good power. If you have great chin, great toughness, a guy like Vettori, obviously he didn't use it to the best ability. You are going to be able to cross that. You are going to be able to get in close where you can do damage against him. And it's not necessarily you have to have the best chin only, you have to be tough. Like guys like Duplessis, guys like Strickland were able to walk through a lot of what he was doing, guard up, but able to take shots on their guard and keep moving forward, not get discouraged by that, and that helped for them. Power, obviously another big plus. Now, in like the terms of Strickland, Whitaker, who did well against Adesanya in moments, obviously they don't have much of that, and they were still able to do well against Adesanya, but we've seen, especially in the Pereira fight, in the Duplessis fight to some extent, even in the Romero fight, where he had Izzy pretty hesitant, power is a big, big attribute that's going to help you against Izzy, because once you do get inside, you're going to be able to make those strikes count, especially against a guy like Adesanya, who does have good defense up close. He is good at getting his guard up, moving his head, especially along the cage, which we'll talk about later. It helps to have range and size, obviously. Like a guy like Pereira, again, was able to play the same game that Adesanya does play. Kickbox with him, kick with him. Not everybody can do that, right? Paulo Costa wasn't able to do that. A lot of that comes down to range. Whitaker doesn't have the same range as a guy like Adesanya. Sean Strickland doesn't, but he was able to get through that in a different way, which we'll talk about. Strength helps. If you're going to be able to take this guy down, you're going to need a lot of strength. That's what a guy like Duplessis had when he was able to bully Adesanya when he's up close, in the clinch, things like that. And then cardio. Adesanya starts to fade. Not necessarily like he looks super tired in the third, fourth, fifth rounds. Just that his activity declines a little bit. His intention behind his shots declines a little bit. And I know a lot of that is mental, but it also has to do with cardio. Either he's already beaten you by that point and he's just cruising, or he's going to lose because you start taking advantage. But that cardio is something that you need to take advantage in those last couple rounds where Adesanya isn't quite as dangerous. Then let's get into the skills you need to beat Adesanya. First, you need a sound defense. We see pretty good defense from guys like Duplessis, Pereira, Sean Strickland that beat him. Keep your hands up. Watch for those kicks because they're going to be coming. You need to be able to guard to your body as well as your head too, because if you're not, he's going to be able to target your body with kicks, with kind of straight rights, with jabs to the body, kind of like Pereira does. Adesanya, I think, does mirror a lot of that same type of thing. You need to move forward, in my opinion, and you need to be comfortable with that because, like I said, that's the way to get that range. That's the way to back up Adesanya. And we'll talk more about why you need to back up a guy like Adesanya and how that can help you be successful in this fight. Obviously, leg kick defense is a big one. That's kind of what Adesanya is known for. He's going to kick those legs, and he does have great leg kicks. He whips them hard, fast. He targets well with them. He hits you right in the meat of your leg. You need to be able to defend those and return those, kind of slow down his movement, although it's hard. He's probably the second best leg kicker that has been at middleweight, aside from Pereira. I would say Pereira's the only guy that's really beaten him in the leg kick battle, which is impressive. And then ability to mix in the grappling. Although we have seen Adesanya stuff a lot of the grappling in the past, we've seen that when you're able to get it, it works well. So if you're an elite level or even really good level grappler with good strength, good cardio, that's another path to success. So that's another good skill to have. All right, and then let's talk about what I really want to talk about. This is kind of the game plan that I would formulate if I was coaching a fighter to fight Israel Adesanya. Say first, like we said, maintain an educated defense and be ready for a dynamic kicking game. Be ready to defend your legs, be ready to defend your body, and most importantly, keep those hands up as much as you can because he will whip up fast head kicks. Now, looking back, Adesanya really hasn't caught that many people with his head kicks, but what he does is he makes you plan for it, and it's something you have to plan for. A lot of guys have planned for it well in the past, but if you don't, you're going to be in trouble. And even if you do, he uses that threat of head kicks, start of good jabs, to be able to land to the legs, be able to land to the body. But it's still a priority. Guard your head. Watch for those head kicks. Second, move forward. Don't allow Izzy to dictate range or tempo. Like I said, range is his greatest attribute, greatest ability. He's going to use that to beat you, and he's very good at it. So move forward. If you're moving back, he's going to be able to tap, move out. You're not going to be able to get to him. And like I said, you may take damage, but you have to have a good chin. You have to have good heart. You have to keep moving forward. I think Sean Strickland did this best because he wasn't necessarily damaging Izzy a lot moving forward, but Izzy wasn't damaging him either. He was able to land the jab occasionally, and that teep just kept pushing him back, pushing him back. So, like I said, you're going to want to occupy him with the teeps, with the leg kicks, with jabs to the body and head, because the more you're hitting him, the less he's thinking about hitting you, the less he's thinking about controlling range, and the more you can push him back without being hurt. And then I would say you want to push him back all the way to the fence if you can. We saw that in both Pereira fights. It was probably the main point of them. The most important parts in both of those fights was obviously when Pereira got Adesanya backed up to the fence. And that worked amazingly for Pereira in their first fight because there he was able to finish Adesanya, kind of a standing KO. In the second fight, he looked like he was on the same path, but Adesanya game planned for it a little better. Obviously was able to knock out Pereira badly. So Adesanya still is a danger when you get him backed up, but I think it's still the best thing to do against this guy. If Pereira would have known that was coming, which honestly he should have, he would have been able to defend against it. We saw how Pereira defended against that against Khalil Rountree, against Yuri Prochazka. This is something, when you're backed up against the fence, you still are dangerous, but obviously you're at a disadvantage no matter how good you are off the cage. And then you're going to want to present a knockout threat once you corner this guy against the fence, because that's the only way to really get him worried, to knock that game plan out of his head, and then obviously have a chance to finish him. And then if the knockout doesn't come, this is something that we saw a bit from Duplessis, who had a really good game plan against Adesanya as well. Maybe you hurt him, maybe he's just up against the fence because you were able to push him back. Use that opportunity to land takedowns. When he's in that position where he's guarded up, it is going to be hard to land on him, but it is obviously going to be easier to go for that double leg, single leg against the fence. And we did see Duplessis do that and then eventually finish Adesanya. And then just repeat that as the rounds go on. If you're able to repeat that, you are going to be winning points, winning the round, and eventually you're going to win the fight. Especially once you get into the 4th and 5th rounds, Adesanya becomes less dangerous. I don't believe he's ever had a knockout in the 4th or 5th rounds, so it's a good way to do it. Alright, and then what's relevant to this upcoming fight night in Saudi Arabia? Can Nassourdine Imavov do it? Can he be a guy to beat Adesanya and set himself up for a title shot? Let's look at what he has. Primarily, he has good striking. It's slick, it's fast, it's dynamic. So he's a guy that's able to hurt you with knees, elbows. He has decent power. We saw that against Cannonier. He looked okay in the Strickland fight. Looking back, at the time, it didn't seem like that great of a loss to have. But looking back, only a couple guys in this division can beat Strickland at this point. I think that's Chimaev and Duplessis. Maybe Adesanya if they fight again. But to have that pretty close loss against Strickland in the striking, and this was before Strickland had kind of shown who he is, before a lot of people had a chance to figure him out. I think Imavov is near elite level striking. He's a very good striker, at least at middleweight. And the thing about him, he's one of the more well-rounded middleweights. He is Imavov, although he is French. He has a bit of wrestling. It's nothing special, but he does use it, which is more than most middleweight strikers can say. But his range isn't all that, like I was saying with Adesanya. This isn't a Pereira type of guy that's going to be able to stay at range with you, hurt you when you can hurt him. This is a guy that Adesanya is going to be able to jab up, leg kick potentially. He's a counter striker, which I think doesn't bode well for him against a guy like Adesanya. As I said, you want to move forward and pressure Adesanya. You don't want to let him come to you and try to hit him, especially when you have shorter arms than this guy. You're a bit smaller than this guy. He's going to be able to hit you and move out and he's very good at avoiding counters. When has counter striking ever worked against Israel Adesanya? You have to go first. Du Plessis went first. Whitaker went first when he had success. Pereira, almost always a guy that goes first, plus he has that range. Strickland obviously goes first, pressuring Adesanya. And then one thing Imavov does have going for him is good clinch work. If he can get close, if he can get inside on Adesanya, I think he's going to be able to hurt him in the clinch, going to be able to threaten takedowns. I think that's his best path to success. But in my opinion, Izzy is going to win this. He has like a 70% chance to win this, in my opinion. I just think he's able to outstrike Imavov at range. I don't think Imavov's going to be able to have success in the striking. And I think Izzy, especially at this point in his career, because he has been doing MMA for like, 7, 8, 9 years at this point. His last non-MMA fight was his kickboxing loss against Alex Pereira. He's fought Pereira 2 more times since then. It's just been a while since then. He's been working on grappling for a long time with guys like Craig Jones, guys like Volkanovski. I don't see Imavov as an elite guy in the wrestling, in the strength, like a Du Plessis that was able to have success on the ground against Adesanya. And I don't think he's that elite in the striking that he's going to have success against Adesanya in the striking either. So, in my opinion, Izzy wins this one. I don't think Imavov can do it. But let me know in the comments what you think. How would you game plan against Israel Adesanya? Who do you think would beat him in the division? Does Adesanya have a chance again at the belt? Let me know. I'll be happy to talk to you guys, and have a great day.